This is not the kind of video I usually make, but seeing as the future of free creative expression on the internet is kind of at risk now, So, around July 16th, the video game storefront Steam added a new rule to its terms, allowing payment processors and internet service providers to enforce rules on what is and isn't allowed to be sold through Steam based on their own set of standards. This resulted in around 500 games being removed from the storefront, with 81 more still in the crosshairs. Likewise, the indie game storefront itch.io de-indexed all of the adult content being sold through their site, functionally banning it altogether. Now, contrary to what you might assume, this wasn't a decision either Valve nor Itch made willingly. No, they were both forced into taking this radical step by Visa, Mastercard, PayPal, and other payment processing companies. As it turns out, if you're a massive international company that controls how money is transferred in the online sphere, you can just kind of threaten to turn off the power if you want. While yes, this is a deeply disturbing series of events that fully highlight the vast power payment processors have over what we are allowed to see and buy, it's important to drag the true offenders into the spotlight. Yeah, there's an even deeper level to this. I want you to meet Collective Shout, a so-called feminist, grassroots, non-profit organization whose leadership seems to be almost entirely made up of ex-Australian government officials and members of the public sector whose roles were funded by the Australian government. This story was originally broken by Anna Valens over on Vice, but the group pressured the publication to take the story down. This TERF organization has been actively trying to censor video games and ban pornography from the internet for years now. Such attempts include forcing Target and Kmart in Australia to remove GTA 5 from their shelves, trying to ban Detroit Become Human from being sold in Australia, and helping author the age verification laws now active in Australia, the UK, and parts of the United States. Their key weapon of choice is accusing their chosen target of being guilty of perpetuating violence against or sexually exploiting women and children. Which is wacky when you learn that their example of exploitation in Detroit Become Human is the entirety of the character Kara's arc, a crushing story of an abusive father's violent acts against his housekeeper and daughter. This story is intentionally distressing and is an attempt to discuss the horrifying reality of misogyny and violence that women have suffered from their own abusive family members. And I don't know about you, but that seems like a pretty feminist topic to me. And that's exactly the point. By claiming a company or piece of media is perpetuating or depicting violence against women and children, and then making a big fuss about it, they can weaponize these atrocities into sweeping acts of censorship. It's the reason that people in Britain now have to provide their full legal identification when trying to access adult websites. A law that's supposed to protect children by preventing them from accessing adult websites by forcing the rest of adults to divulge their private information to websites not equipped to handle nor safely store tens of thousands of personal details. Man, what are you gonna do if there's a data breach? All that info is just free to any malicious groups. And can I just point how stupid this premise is? Like, yes, little Timmy won't be able to be harmed by seeing naked people because we're forcing the website to ask for ID. Look, I'm sorry to burst your bubble, Kim, but I've been 14 before. Kids are smart, especially those who've been practically raised by the internet. Yes, giving them an iPad instead of paying attention to them probably is gonna have some negative repercussions here. It's not hard to, steal your parents' ID and use it to gain access, thereby putting mummy and daddy's personal information at risk. And let's not forget that this is an IP check. All you need to do is download any VPN and you're free sailing. And yet, these policies keep being brought up as a real solution to an allegedly massive problem. As I mentioned earlier, similar ID verification laws have been adopted in Texas and the United States at the urging of groups like the National Center on Sexual Exploitation, which is another organization that's suspiciously similar to Collective Shout. In fact, here's one of the leaders of NCOSC praising its Australian counterpart for forcing Steam to remove 500 games. And that's weird. These two supposedly feminist nonprofits are both actively engaging in repressive campaigns against adult content on the internet and attempting to censor pieces of media they disagree with. You know, it'd be really weird if one of these two had ties to the alt-right Christo-fascist Heritage Foundation, responsible for the ongoing destruction of the United States democracy, as well as the destabilization of the worldwide economy. Oh, would you look at that? So, I suppose the whole feminist and anti-abuse things are just a screen for their main goal. Banning adult content from the internet. And look, I know there's a large group of people who might not be too pressed about all of this. You know, why should I care if they restrict or outright ban porn from the internet? That stuff's weird and degenerate anyways. But you gotta remember that NSFW isn't the end goal. Queer identity has been demonized as strange and perverse by politicians for years. All you need to do is label all queer media as fetishistic to be able to ban it under the guise of restricting pornography. And if you're still out there thinking, bro, what do I care if some TV show full of gays gets censored? That's not my problem. You're not seeing how much of an issue this could actually become. Groups like Collective Shout are already falsely accusing media they disagree with of promoting some awful stuff that was never in that media to begin with. All it would take is one member of their board disliking your favorite thing and bang, they've come up with a reason to get rid of it. Ooh, you're a fan of Fortnite? Violence against women, gone. Red Dead? Violence against women and encouraging prostitution, deleted. Call of Duty? Promoting terrorism and violence against women, get that out of here. Hell, it's already started on the other end of the spectrum with CBS shutting down Stephen Colbert's late night show. Regardless of your opinions on the guy or his comedy, censorship is coming, and we as a collective need to stand against it wherever it arises. Because if you give these ghouls an inch, they will take everything from you. And they won't even give you a good alternative. These fascist types couldn't make good media to save their lives. So, what can you do to help? As it stands, it's hard to actually go after the groups responsible for all of this, unless you're in Australia where you can contact the government calling into question their status as a charity. But what we can do is hit back against the payment processors that are enabling this. From what we've heard, Collective Shout got these companies to act with a force only around 1,000 strong, which honestly is pretty pitiful. So we've got to fire back with overwhelming numbers. In the description, I've linked the Visa and Mastercard complaint campaign, a movement to try and beat groups like Collective Shout at their own game and flood these payment processors' lines. There are a couple of approaches to do this. First is a consumer complaint. This involves directly calling these companies' support lines to express dissatisfaction with them restricting your ability to purchase certain types of legal materials on Steam and itch. Second is an investor relations complaint. Now, I can't pretend to be super knowledgeable on how to go after them through investor relations, but if you have money in a retirement fund, there's a chance you have money in Visa and or MasterCard stock. If you'd like to learn more, there are some more research on the site so you can figure out how that works. Okay, so quick interjection. While I was working on this video, Stripe decided to start acting up and has put the entirety of itch at risk. In light of that, I'm going to link a new webpage with information on how to contact all the companies I've already mentioned as well as some I haven't. It also has guides and scripts so you know what you can say to make sure that your calls are the most effective. Finally, you can take a page directly out of Collective Shout's book and email the heads of these companies directly. Their information for their executive team should be easy to find on their websites, plus a little bit of sleuthing. However, and this is super important, we need to approach this as respectfully and professionally as possible. When calling customer service, please remember that the representatives have little to say over the choices their company makes. Similarly, it's important to stay focused. As tempting as it might be to go off about how upset you are, we're looking for volume and consistency. We need a loud, clear message that can't be ignored. And if you're deciding to reach out to the executives directly, please be professional. The fastest way to get them to ignore this movement is if they decide that this is a targeted harassment campaign. There are some example scripts on the campaign site so you can have a guide when calling, but I've gone and left one on the screen so you can have it for reference. Additionally, you can also help by signing on to the ongoing ACLU and Change.org petitions to add your name to the growing list of thousands of upset consumers. And finally, if you're in the States, you can try calling your local and state representatives to express your frustration with payment processors' abilities to restrict your legal purchasing habits. Just remember to be professional and direct with your messaging. With that said, what are you waiting for? It's your money, and you deserve to be able to spend it how you want without some weird holier-than-thou censorship brigade telling you what is and isn't allowed on the internet. The web is ours, and we've got to fight like hell to keep it that way. If you found this video helpful or informative, please share it around. Additionally, leaving a like and comment helps boost visibility with YouTube's algorithm. Mainstream media channels won't be covering this, and the majority of large political commentators are too preoccupied with what's going on in the government to take immediate action on this. As unfortunately tends to be the case when it comes to internet access and privacy, it's up to us as individuals to hold our ground against corporate and political overreach. We have the power to fight this if we work together and push back. All it takes is a little coordination and effort. Thanks for watching, stay strong, stay safe, and good luck.